Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tom Olsen. The name of the show is 11 Lawyers Radio Show. It is September 24, 2011. My very special guest on this very special edition of 11 Lawyers Radio Show is Leon Handley. He's been a lawyer in Orlando since 1951. Yes, that is 60 years. He was born and raised in Orlando, has lived just a wonderful, extensive life, and continues to do so. And it's my pleasure to continue to get to know Leon. And Leon, we were just talking about you becoming a lawyer in 1951. And I got to say, it's always a pleasure and a joy when I meet somebody who knew my father, Robert Olsen, who became a lawyer in Orlando in 1955. So the other day I had lunch with John Edward Jones, and he had an opportunity to tell me some things about my father. And if you don't mind, I'd like to say a few words of memories of how you might remember Father Robert Olsen as a lawyer back in the day.
I knew your father very, very well, and your sweet mother, Dee. I remember when your dad built that magnificent office building for himself there on Lake Eola.
Yes.
And he named the building the D&I building, and I thought that was very, very clever. Now, your dad was not noted for being clever. He was a tough, hard-working, very intelligent Duke graduate lawyer, and he had a magnificent experience in World War II. He had a fine war record. He was a pilot and a very gifted person in many respects, and I enjoyed him very much.
Leon, thanks so much for those kind words. And you know, the building you're speaking of that he built and called it the D&I building was in downtown Orlando on Lake Eola, as you spoke of. When I became a lawyer in 1981, that is a building I practiced law out of until 1990.
Yes, I was there many times, and we had depositions there, matters that we were handling, your firm on one side and my firm on the other. And I was always treated very graciously, and I enjoyed your father very much.
Hey, by chance, did you ever play pool up in the pool room at his office?
I did not, but I knew about it. I didn't dare get involved with that bunch because they would have skinned me out, I'm sure. I could shoot a little pool, but I was not an expert, and they had some fine pool shots, shot good cues, as we would say. And your dad and his distinguished partner, who later circuit judge, James Byrd, were good friends of mine, and I enjoyed them very much. Your dad and I were later neighbors in the golf villas just north of the Country Club of Orlando golf course.
Yeah, so back in that day, my father didn't always have a law partner, but there was a law firm named Olsen and Byrd, B-Y-R-D, and it's fun because every once in a while I'll see a very old letterhead or I'll see an old recorded deed with Olsen and Byrd on it and think, man, that's some real cool history.
Yes, they were both Duke graduates, your father and his partner, and very bright young men, and both of them were pilots, and both of them had distinguished war records in World War II, for which we respect them very much.
Hey, Leon, we are going to continue to talk about your early years in law practice and your career because there's a few cases I want to talk to you about. But before we get to talking some of your cases, your good friend Bucky Allen is on the line with us. Bucky, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, you are coming as absolutely live on the 11 Lawyers Radio Show, Bucky. So, and my guest today is Leon Handley.
Well, you know, Tom, more than 60 years ago, Leon and I were fraternity brothers at the University of Florida. One day, he returned to the fraternity house and told me he had corrected the dean of the law college. And he said, "Did I do the right thing?" Well, of course, I said, Handley, the dean of the law school may not always be right, but he is always dean. And if you want to become a lawyer, you had better keep your mouth closed. Well, of course, he never did, and that is why he is considered today as one of Florida's premier trial lawyers.
Well, thank you, Bucky. That's very kind of you. Bucky and I met in January of 1945 at the University of Florida in the ATO house. Now, we had met or seen each other earlier when he was a star guard for the Plant High football team, which was the state champion team in 1944. They only beat the Dreadnoughts of Lakeland 39-0. And all of Bucky's classmates went on to college careers, but at 155 pounds, he did not think it was wise of him to play college football. Bucky, nice of you to call.
Hey,
Nice
Bucky.
to talk to you, Leon, old baby.
Hey, Bucky, you and I both know how charming Leon is.
Yeah.
Can you imagine him charming a jury? Or could you imagine him not charming a jury?
No, I cannot, because and he not only charmed the juries, but you should have seen how he charmed the girls that came down from Tallahassee.
Well, Bucky, I was in Leon's office. He works at Rumberger Kirk Caldwell Law Firm, and he invited us to his office last week. And I'm in his office, and it's full of pictures. And I'm seeing pictures of Leon as a young man, and my jaw dropped out how handsome he was.
Oh, no, that was not Handley. It couldn't possibly been. No, he...
Well, I kept looking at the picture. I said, Leon, is this you? I really couldn't believe it either.
No. You're thinking of somebody else. That wasn't old mullet mouth.
Hey, Bucky, I'm about to ask Leon about one of his trials. Are there any trials that you remember over the years, that might have been in the media that you remember Leon being involved in? That?
No, I couldn't stand to see the other side get slaughtered.
All right.
He cut every other lawyer up he shredded them all.
All right.
You might be interested to know that Bucky has written 6 books, is it now, Bucky? After being a very distinguished businessman, after graduating the University of Florida, he went into the family business, the Island Drug Company, and ran that business for about 40 years, and then sold the business, retired, and now is a very distinguished published author.
And Bucky, I love the fact that you concentrate on Central Florida history.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, well, my wife loves the fact that I write because it keeps me out of trouble, she says,
Hey, Bucky, thank you for calling. That's Bucky Allen.
Right.
And thanks so much for calling. A good friend of Leon Handley, Bucky Allen, also in my Orlando Rotary Club. Orlando Rotary, Orlando's oldest and largest Rotary Club. So a lot of historians in there. I love hearing the stories. So, Leon, let's go ahead and, I'll give you an opportunity to talk about one of your memorable trials. Well, first of all, you were a trial lawyer. How many trials do you think you've done in your career?
I've been asked that question before, Tom, and I kept no record, but there were hundreds and hundreds of cases of all varieties. I used to tell people I handle everything from adoption to zoning. And my primary emphasis and responsibility was in the handling of trials before juries and also before the court for a variety of people. To put it somewhat succinctly, I told them I represented the downtrodden, the friendless, the abused, the neglected. I represented the vested interests.
Well, when the first time you said that, it was being a little bit facetious because you really you represented banks and big companies, right?
Yes, banks and power companies and doctors and hospitals and lawyers and product manufacturers.
And, Leon, the law these days has gotten so specialized. When I became a lawyer in 1981, my father, Robert Olsen, and we would do anything and everything that walked through the doors. You're talking about a history of doing trial work, and I find it different that you did both civil and you did murder trials, too.
Yes, I handled a number of criminal cases, usually by appointment of the court, and on occasion by the family asking me to represent the defendant.
Well, do you want to pick one to talk about, or would you like me to give you a suggestion? Whatever you prefer.
Well, one very, very interesting case for a variety of reasons, wasn't all that exciting, was the Orlando Utilities Commission Indian River Plant number 3, which was under construction when the mechanical contractor went broke. He declared bankruptcy and walked off the job. Lergy Nost, the German company. The insurance company, the bonding company, elected to complete. So they hired Blunt Brothers of Montgomery, Alabama. Red Blunt was the Postmaster General at that time, and they completed. Well, it took us 55 days to make the presentation. to the Honorable George Young, who was the federal judge here in Orange County. And at the end of that period of time, we had 20,000 documents. We had a room designated for us at the courthouse to keep them. The opposing lawyers had one expert who had all of his testimony on a 30-foot piece of wrapping paper, and he spread it all over the courtroom and recited his testimony. What really was quite interesting about it is that the judge stated that he had to retire in order to decide the case. He was very, very busy. So 5 years later, he rendered his opinion. We won the case, and we were able to resolve it, and it was a very substantial victory.
Nice. Hey, well, there was a case that I heard about through you, and it's hard to forget the name of it, and I call it the Bonnie and Clyde case. So
yes,
all right. So tell the listeners, is the Bonnie and Clyde case true? Did it really happen?
It really did happen. This young woman who applied her trade in the evenings was asked to.
Well, what year was this? Tell me. So
I'm thinking it was somewhere back in the early 80s.
Okay. All right.
And a man named Lonnie Schiller was an employee of a company. They had a sales meeting, and she was asked to attend. And at the end of the meeting, she asked to be paid. The gentleman who invited her said, "I've got to go to the bank to get the money." So he went with her. She drove the car. She had not driven this type of vehicle before. A hardtop convertible, gold and black, just the kind of car you want to drive if you're going to a bank to withdraw money that isn't yours. And she waited in the parking lot. He went in, got the money, came out, paid her. She dropped him off at his apartment, went back, left the car, and was told that the FBI was looking for her. She walked out the back door, called her friend, went to California. 6 months later, turned herself into the FBI because her mother said they were looking for her for bank robbery. They brought her back here, and the same Judge Young appointed me to defend this woman, and we did so. We tried the case for a week. I got the grand sum of $500 by representing an indigent, and I've called them indignant so long, indigents. And the girl was convicted, even though I had, one of the issues was, did she know he had a pistol in his pocket? Well, during the discussion, the final argument, I slipped the pistol out of the evidence bag and put it in my pocket and argued the case to the jury for at least half an hour or more, and then said, did she know he had a pistol? Did you know I had a pistol? And I pulled it out of my pocket. Of course, this was before the days of security. And that did not persuade the jury nonetheless, because they convicted. We got a new trial in that case, and heaven knows we had invested quite a bit already in this young lady. We had tried the case again for another week. By this time, they had doubled the pay. I got $1,000. And again, they convicted her. We took an appeal to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in Atlanta. Again, I think we got $300 for the appeal. And they reversed, sent it back for trial, and the government gave up.
Oh, boy. And so just out of curiosity, what was the judge's reaction when you pulled the pistol out of your pocket and showed it to the jury?
He was not pleased. He was not pleased. And the next judge, who was a visiting judge, told me, young man, I've told him to lock that pistol in a drawer. So I brought my own pistol. Matter of fact, I brought two pistols. I thought, well, that might be a bit much. And when he had told me I was not to use that evidence pistol, but he didn't tell me I couldn't use my own pistol. But he was not very happy.
Well, that's a hoot, Leon, because one of the quotes I read about you was that you were talking to somebody say, I don't give a flip about the judges. It's the juries who decide the case.
The juries decide the case. The judge is sworn to be fair, and so is the jury, but to be fair to whom? That's the question.
All right. Hey, folks, my name is Tom Olsen. The name of the show is 11 Lawyers Radio Show. My guest today is Leon Handley. He's been a lawyer in Orlando since 1951. Yes, that's 60 years. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about some more stories and a couple of more cases. You're listening to News Talk WDBO.
When you're in the car.